Hello, I'm doing this very off the cuff, very quickly. So it's going to be a bit chaotic. I want to cover a lot of things. So because of some very despicable comments from men in the far right um, online, they've been like just making despicable comments towards women. And I've noticed that in social media, particularly on threads, I noticed there's a lot of women asking about self-defense. Like they want to take self-defense classes, they want to get information. And I would say that overall, thankfully, they seem to be getting mostly good answers. But I wanted to make kind of like a quick video to maybe explain a little bit, real quick, um, some things to be mindful of, to avoid, or to pay attention to if you're seeking self-defense. Um, and I'm doing this very quickly, so it's going to be a little bit all over the place. I'm going to try to cover a lot of information, but I might go back and forth a little bit. I have some notes here, but even those notes are not in order. So my goal is to help any women who are seeking to learn self-defense, and no matter your motivation for that, I think it's a very good idea. I think it's a good skill to have, to learn how to defend yourself. So first of all, I guess I should talk a little bit about my own background in martial arts. I have a few years of experience in mixed martial arts, combat sambo, Brazilian jiu-jitsu. I would say I'm a hobbyist. I haven't competed yet. Um, I might do it at some point, but that's pretty much my background in martial arts. And I've also done an interview with someone who's an expert in self-defense. If anyone would like to see that interview, it's a very long interview. Just leave a comment, ask for a link, and I'll put it in the comments. I'll reply to your request. So let's get started. First of all, self-defense is not just fighting, obviously. It's a lot of self-awareness. It's a lot of situational awareness. It's a lot of um, trusting your gut feeling. A lot of people, when they get attacked, they often say they had a bad feeling before it happened. But, out of some sort of social obligation to not insult the person they might have felt threatened towards, or like they kind of like don't do the things that would have kept them safe. They don't leave a place they should have left. They don't cross the street to walk on the other side of the street. They don't do those things. And sometimes out of like some sort of feeling of obligation to not offend people around you. But if you feel unsafe, you know, just to give an example, if I'm walking my kids and someone has a loose dog, I'm picking up my kids, and I don't care if you tell me that your dog is friendly and all that. I don't know your dog, and I don't care if you're offended that I felt threatened by, like, that I consider your dog a threat towards my kids. My duty is to protect my kids and also myself. So if you're talking about self-defense, it's defending yourself, and sometimes that might involve like being okay with offending people. You know, if you see a man like swearing to himself walking on the street and like just like saying weird things to himself and all that, it's okay to cross on the other side, to take the other sidewalk. You shouldn't be worried about offending that person. Um, Stuff like that. If someone walks at you out of nowhere in the middle of the night, um, you should feel free to say, "Hey, please don't get close to me." And if if the person was just not paying attention, they might feel offended. But on the other hand, if they're not listening to you, then you know that there's a problem. You're ready for it. So self-defense is a lot of things that are not just fighting. Um, but I do understand that when people ask that online right now. So I guess I wanted to say, like, when you learn self-defense, there's a lot of things that are not fighting that you should also learn. But most martial arts schools will not go into that as much. And I guess when people ask, they want to learn about fighting, and we're gonna get into that as well. So I also want to mention some people recommend weapons of different sorts. I'm not gonna comment on that because I'm not familiar with weapons that much, or at all, basically. And depending where you live in the world, the law can be very different regarding what you can carry, what you can use under what circumstances. So I certainly am no expert, even less internationally speaking. And I think even, for example, in the States, where most of the people have been asking, most women have been asking about this question, I think it might even depend on the state. I don't know. You can all tell me. Um, So yeah, I just want to cover what I know I can actually give some answers to. No, I don't want to try to pretend I know everything. Um, okay. So yeah, so having covered that self-defense goes beyond just knowing how to fight, and in fact, fighting should be the last resort in self-defense, because the ideal is you can avoid a situation. You know, when people say, "Oh, just run away," if you can, sure, but you can't always run away. Sometimes a person may be faster than you. Sometimes you might have an injury that you can't run, or some you might have people to defend. You know, you might have an elderly person or young people with you that you need to defend. You can't just leave them behind. So, or you might be trapped somewhere. So, but yeah, okay, I'm taking too long already. I want to try to make this quick so people who need to hear these things actually hear what I would say. But if we're talking about learning how to fight, there's a few things I want to cover. First of all, and this is a very uncomfortable reality, um, is that there's no shortcuts to learning how to fight in this context that it'll take a while before you get any good at fighting. It's going to take a while, unless you're some prodigy, could happen. But you know, in most cases, most people on this planet, it takes a while before you're truly competent in fighting. It takes a long time of practice, and you know, just gonna eh, in the spirit of helping and being truthful, also in the context of a woman learning how to fight in the context of if they're being attacked by a man, that takes even more skill because there's very often going to be like a physical disadvantage for the woman. Not always, but often. So skill can, in some cases, overcome strength and size. But the more strength and size there is, the bigger the differential in physicality, the more skill you need. So that takes a while, right? So there's no shortcuts. And I guess that's the first warning. Avoid any schools that will tell you, oh, you know, like we're going to teach you how to quickly dispatch an attacker. You know, like you block and you do this, and they're going to be on the floor, and you can run away, or you know, like all those schools that are like, oh, it's easy. You just need to do this, and that's it. That's not a real fight, unless you're Mike Tyson. You know, you know, like sure, you might knock out someone with one punch. It can certainly happen. It happens in combat sports often, but it's not like this reliable thing unless you're like Mike Tyson or something, or Francis Ngannou. If you're a regular person, you can knock out someone with one punch, but they might also just be on adrenaline or just you don't hit them quite right to knock them out. Like you don't, you can't. If you count on dispatching someone quickly and that's it, and you think that imagining that makes it more effective, it's the opposite. Like you should learn how to fight with the idea that you might be fighting for a while. It might take a few minutes, you know, and that's part of it. Like learning how to fight is also having the cardio to last a few minutes, which is an eternity in fighting. Trust me. Like 2 minutes of fighting is exhausting. Most people are not trained for that, but that's one thing. Um, be careful. Any school that makes it sound easy, we're gonna teach you techniques. You just kick the guy in the balls and that's it. Nah, someone on adrenaline and all that, they're not just gonna stop because you kick them in the balls. It's unless you really burst that testicle and they have to go to a hospital. But you know, sorry, that was graphic. Um, it's not anyone who sells it as being easy is just trying to is conning you. Fighting can yeah you should get in if you get into a fight like just you don't know how long it'll last. You know be ready to have to defend yourself and don't imagine that I'm gonna do this then this and I'm gonna be clear in the clear. That's you know so like it's not reality. Um. So yeah, all my ideas are taking longer to express than I would hope for. So I hope you'll stick around for the rest. Um, yeah, other things that like anything that's like, oh, like this style is for the streets and blah 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 blah. Fighting is fighting, okay? I do, yeah, of course. People doing mixed martial arts, Brazilian jiu-jitsu, and any other combat sport. There's gonna be rules in a combat sport, but um, what you want, even if there's rules, you want to be in an environment where you will really test out the techniques, where it will be stress tested, like with resistance, like so. Um, combat sports do that. They get you ready for someone who's resisting you and for you to apply your technique anyway. Um, so be careful any school that's like, oh, like what we do is not allowed in mixed martial arts because it's for the streets, and it, we're gonna poke the guy in the eye, and look, it's not that easy actually, and if I had to choose a bodyguard and I have a choice between someone who's been doing mixed martial arts for a long time and someone who has not been doing the same amount of work because they think that they're just going to poke someone in the eye and they're going to win the fight, I'm going to go with the mixed martial artist. So I guess, again, I could elaborate a lot on this one, but um, you can't replace experience with theory of, oh, I would poke that guy in the eye and therefore I don't need to learn all this other fighting stuff. That's not true. Also, you have a lot of examples of just like fights where fighters were like poked in the eye, like thumb in the eye and everything, and that didn't make them win the fight. Um, like again, if you want examples, I can like just leave a comment. As for examples where poking someone in the eye did not ensure victory, I can give you lots of examples. Um, so it's again, you if you want to learn how to fight, you need to learn how to fight. There's no shortcuts, and that's what it is. Now, regarding styles, oh yeah, something else about schools. When you look at martial arts schools, okay, if you look at Google reviews and stuff like that online, what you want to look for in the reviews that's actually useful is any indication of creepy behavior from teachers. Like if you see like some women being like, "Oh, the instructor flirted with me," or was kind of touchy with me, or stuff like that, that's useful. The star rating of like, oh, 5 stars, so many good reviews, that means nothing because um, the thing is that a lot of people, like if you're asking on social media to begin with, if you're asking on social media about self-defense, and I don't mean this in a derogatory way, but you don't know what you're looking for. You don't know what works or not. You don't know what's going to be good or not. So if you go to a school that's teaching bullshit and you don't know it, you might be convinced. You might spend like months and years training that, and you'll be biased because that's what you've been doing and that's what the teacher has been teaching you. And you might give in a 5 star review. Oh, this is amazing. It doesn't mean it's true. Um, so a school with a lot of like good reviews regarding the technique and all that, that in itself is not an indicator that the school will actually teach you good fighting, but it can be useful in the context of instructor behavior. That can be useful. Um, I would say if you want to have like an like YouTube channel to look for, if you want to look for like how to detect like problematic schools and all that, is Make Dojo Life. Make Dojo Life. I've also again, you can comment if you want a link to his channel. I've also done an interview with him. I can link the interview if you want. Again, just asking the comments. Um, okay, now I want to address when people say self-defense, the martial art that comes up very often is Krav Maga. I'm gonna be very blunt to try to not take too much time. The issue with Krav Maga is that there are some schools that are really good, really amazing, and other schools that are crap. That are like antiquated ideas of self-defense that don't no longer hold up into the like that never held up, but have been stress tested, and we know that it's not the best way to learn. So Krav Maga is a very mixed bag. And again, if you're asking online about self-defense, you're not going to be able to tell which one is which. So I just want to kind of say that I don't have. Also, Krav Maga is a martial art that's very based on aggression and dispatching. And I've never. There might be schools that teach it, but I haven't seen a lot of Krav Maga schools teaching de-escalation. Very often, it's like, oh, you have to attack first. And I don't want to get too like. Look, Krav Maga is a martial art from Israel. I don't want to get too much into that. That's politics, but they come from an area in the world where it's a bit different. Like they might have, it's just a different reality than maybe your reality, you watching the video. And in our reality, in our world, the escalation is a good idea. Avoiding is a good idea. Like you don't necessarily, if there's tension, sometimes you have to attack first, but you don't always want to do that. So I've just noticed, and look, if you're a Krav Maga practitioner, you want to tell me that I'm wrong, or you can leave a comment as well. I'm more than happy to discuss it. But I think that a lot of Krav Maga schools do not focus on the escalation; they focus on like being the attacker first, which has its time and place. But again, learning when that's appropriate is also a skill in itself. Um, uh, if I haven't mentioned it before, I don't remember anymore. I've done like an interview with Tony Blauer, an expert in self defense. You can leave a comment if you know watch that one. So Krav Maga, be advised, some really good schools and some really bad schools. It's a mixed bag. It's not very consistent, unfortunately. Um, and again, look, if you're the owner of a Krav Maga school, like yours might be one of those that I would say, oh, this is amazing. Like this is really good. So please don't take offense to that. Um, please don't come after me. um, Now, I'm gonna get real, and this is an uncomfortable thing to discuss, but I've seen people advise women to take boxing, Muay Thai, stuff like that. I think that in addition is good, but look, I'm gonna have to talk about something real uncomfortable. In the context in which women have been asking about self-defense, implies a very sort specific sort of attack on them. They're not asking for self-defense in case someone tries to knock them out with punches in the street. They're asking, what if someone tries to pin them down? And I don't want to elaborate, but it's a very specific reason why women are asking this right now. So boxing is good if someone's trying to like punch you. Um, Boxing has nothing to, unless you get a lucky punch in, like I mentioned at the beginning, and you knock the person out in one punch, which you should never count on. It can happen, and good if it happens, but never count on that. But if someone like if a man like tackles you down, boxing has nothing to teach you for that. So boxing could be a very good addition to other stuff. Boxing is amazing, but if what you're asking in the context of why it's being asked, if you have to practice only one thing, it cannot be boxing. It's not gonna give you what you're looking for. Again, it's if the only thing you have next to your house is a boxing club, that's cool. Boxing, like do that. Better to do that than nothing. But boxing is amazing, but in the very real context in which the question is being asked, you need to learn grappling, and that will involve being in, like it's fighting, um, its techniques, like it's ground control. It's learning how to get out from under if someone pins you down, how you get out, how to choke someone, how to apply techniques to snap a limb if you have to, or put them to sleep with a choke or so. And again, they teach you also how to escape if someone's trying to hold you. So you need to learn something with that. Now, to be real, if you want to learn how to fight, the best thing you can learn is mixed martial arts. It's like every single aspect of fighting in one combat sport, or combat sambo, which is mixed martial arts with a jacket, basically. They have their own rules for competition and all that, but they're going to teach you all the techniques that you need to know. Like it's basically like just mixed martial arts, but you're wearing a jacket, which is useful for countries where if it gets cold and like a good chunk of the year you have like coats and stuff like that. Um, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is amazing, but you have to be careful. I think you should tell the instructor if you join a Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu school that again, it's amazing for that sort of concern, but you need to tell the instructor you want to learn self-defense because a lot of Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu these days has a lot of sporting aspects and sporting techniques where it might be good for sport, but it's not good if someone say like starts punching your face, And again, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu is really amazing, has a lot to offer to defend yourself, even if someone's trying to punch you, but you cannot have, especially when you start out and you can't differentiate what sport, what self-defense. You need to let the instructor know I'm here to learn to defend myself. So if there's aspects that are for sport, it doesn't mean you should skip it because anything that makes you better at grappling, even if it's for sport, will make you better at grappling. Period. But you should let the instructor know so they can inform you. Um, in sport, you might want to hold this limb with two hands because there's not going to be any punches. But if you're in a street fight, maybe hold it differently to take into account someone trying to hit you, stuff like that. So I think you should learn like wrestling, sambo, combat sambo, judo, Brazilian jiu-jitsu. Um, Mixed martial arts is just learning how to fight. Uh, and look, Krav Maga as well. If you know anyone who can advise you to as to what would be a good school. Um, If for whatever reason you're just averse to any grappling, you don't want to do grappling, even though that's the best thing to defend yourself in these cases. If you want to learn like a kickboxing style, go with a Southeast Asian one where they're at least going to teach you how to clinch, like grappling up here. Like, so if someone tries, like, there's at least one aspect of grappling in Southeast Asian martial arts. Muay Thai, Pradal Sere or Kung Mai, Lethwei, like those styles. From China, there's also Sanda, which will teach you some like standing grappling. But again, in the context that women are asking right now, I think you need to consider like how to defend yourself if someone takes you down. That's kind of what you're looking for. And it also teaches you how to avoid being taken down. Just to be clear, you don't have to wait to be on the floor. You can avoid it as well. Um, Now I want to mention one last thing, and this is kind of like a touchy subject. I'm gonna have to speed through because the video is already very long. It's the elephant in the room. The reality is that the profiles of women who were asking this were, in all cases, were very left-wing profiles. The posts were very left-wing, like anti-Trump and things like that. And obviously, the comments of the people who made them feel unsafe are from the far right. An elephant in the room that I want to address is that a lot of combat sports, a lot of people in combat sports are right-wing. Um, and what that has as an effect is that sometimes I see a lot of left-wing people go into less efficient, more traditional martial arts, less efficient, less fighting efficient styles. And the thing is that you shouldn't let that affect you. You should choose a school that's going to teach you how to defend yourself, that's going to give you what you're looking for. Obviously, I'm not saying like go if you go to a school that you see they're like far right, don't go there, obviously. But if they just happen to be a right wing, and I know you might feel unsafe from that, but just try to get over it. Try to get the skill you might learn, and like the people teaching there, most cases they'll want women to be safe. They're not gonna care that much about these things, these politics, and I'm not saying to not be passionate about your politics that you're passionate about. I'm not saying don't care about these things, but at the same time, you're there to seek a skill so you can feel safer. Don't forego that just to be in a place that everyone's going to agree with you. You're going to be in this echo chamber and you might feel safer. But if you end up like learning Tai Chi for self defense, you're not going to, in the end, it doesn't suit your needs. You're not helping yourself. So I'm not talking about far right, but if it happens to be like there's going to be a lot of conservative people in combat sports, it's just a reality. They're going to be right wing. Make peace with that. You're there to learn a skill. And not all cases. There's some that are not like that, but don't skip the chance to learn something that will be useful to you because of that, and then end up learning something that's bullshit just because they're saying things you prefer to hear. And again, like normally people don't start talking politics in a gym, but I'm just addressing a reality that if it's a concern to you, I think you'll find most people who open schools for martial arts and all that, in most cases, those who are legit, very much want women to be safe. They want people to learn martial arts to be safe. They're going to teach them how to be safe. And I do understand that you might, be receiving these hateful messages from the far right, but please don't let that make you go into a school that's not going to give you what you're looking for in the end. Or maybe everyone thinks like me, but then you're not learning something that's going to keep you safe at all. That's the elephant in the room. I'm sure some right wing people would say I don't need to be apologetic for that. I'm sure some left wing people would say no way I would go in there. But my opinion is that if you're looking to defend yourself, learn how to defend yourself. Get over some stuff that might not be that look. If you're learning how to fight, you're gonna get out of your comfort zone anyway. It's at first it's very confusing. It's when you do grappling, I found it very claustrophobic at first. You have to learn how to breathe when someone's on top of you. It's very, and again for a lot of people, men and women, not just women, it's very uncomfortable at first. This proximity, like, but it's what you actually need if you're serious about learning how to defend yourself. Um, I think that's it. Look, if you have any questions, I'm not an expert in self-defense, but obviously I have some experience in martial arts, and I see some really bad answers out there as well. So I wanted to kind of give my 2 cents. If you have any questions, please leave a comment, and I might even refer you to people who are more knowledgeable than I am in whatever your question is. Because again, I'm not a self-defense expert, at least at this point in time in my life. But I do know people online. I do know people who know that stuff, and if you have questions, I can refer you to them. Um, Okay, well, I hope this was helpful. If it's helpful to at least one person, then I'm happy. Um, and you know what? I find it really sad that a lot of women have to feel that way right now. And if any man out there has been like writing stuff like that, I think most of them are trolls. But shame on you, because even if you think you're joking, you're making women feel unsafe. That's despicable behavior, is what I would say. Anyway, everyone, thanks for watching. Please let me know in the comments if you have more questions, or if you think I could have done this video differently or whatever, or if you're you have a Krav Maga school, uh, and you want to leave me a comment of what you think of my video, go ahead. I'll take it. I understand this might have ruffled some feathers. Again, there's some really awesome Krav Maga schools. It's just that it really depends. And Krav Maga is the one that comes up when people talk about self-defense. That in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu mostly. Okay, everyone, thank you for watching.